Hey, my name is Tim Sae Koo, a recovering Type A and aspiring Type B heart-led leader. After selling my first tech startup in Silicon Valley due to personal misalignment in 2018, I am now backpacking around the world for a year with the intentions of healing myself, recharging my battery, and seeking what problem pains my heart to see exist. I'm here to take you on my journey, to stay in touch with you all, and share my learnings to open up new gateways of inspiration and awareness.
Hello, and welcome to week 9 of my world backpacking travels around the world this year. And greetings from the beautiful, mesmerizing, and sincerely jaw-dropping place called Sacred Valley in the country of Peru. For week 9, I traveled from Guatemala down to Costa Rica for this annual transformational festival called Envision. It's located in Uvita Beach and is running its 9th year, and my friends and I have been planning this for quite a few months, and we're all very excited to meet up. So for week 9's video, I really wanted to share two main things. One story I experienced before Envision, and Envision's highlights that I experienced. So firstly, the story was that when I was heading down to Uvita, I got a message from a friend that I had met just a couple months ago at an event in San Francisco. He had mentioned that he would love to meet up and actually show me his and his father's new retreat center that they were opening up at Uvita. And so I was really excited, grabbed dinner with him, and decided to take a tour around this newly opened retreat center. As I was walking through and experiencing what they had been building, I was just so inspired and so excited for them, because this is something that I am personally working on in Costa Rica at this place called Nosara. We refer back to video 2 of this year. And so after the tour, my friend offered to sit with him and the medicine San Pedro the next day, because it would be just an opportunity for us to bond as well as experience San Pedro, the medicine, in their newly launched retreat center. For me, I never experienced San Pedro, and as you may know now, I don't like to turn down an opportunity, especially if it's going to be something I try and experience for the first time in such a safe environment with a friend that I trust a lot. So for those who do not know, San Pedro is a cactus that has psychedelic compounds and is known for its masculine qualities, and is typically done and sat with during the daytime to connect with nature. As the next day came, I went to his place with a few other friends that I invited, and set the intention with this ceremony to really further and deepen my understanding with self-love, and this time specifically trying to understand and see where the root of this lack of self-love derives from. So as the ceremony began, we drank the medicine, and the shaman kind of held space for us to just experience that in the early morning as the sun was rising and the birds were chirping. And what happened for me was that I started to time travel back, and I time traveled back to this point where I was about 6 or 7 years old, under my bed, hiding, because I was fearful of the fighting that my brother and sister and my mother trying to break it up was happening downstairs in my home where I grew up. And I was just hiding, very scared, under the bed. And I remembered being so frustrated that there was so much fighting and hostility that I made a promise to myself at that moment that I was going to make my single mother proud, that all her work that she was doing was not going to go into vain from all the arguments and frustrations that were happening in the family from a divorce during that time. So I promised myself that I was going to work my ass off and make my mother proud by servicing others and servicing the world around me. It sort of acted as a personal contract for me, and it became this North Star that I followed from then on. And as I fast forward to today and I reflect back, what has happened is that I realized that that personal contract really made me put others in front of me, to always continually push myself to new heights and new levels, and working my butt off in servicing others so that I can make my mother proud and make sure that I was doing all I could to make her feel like her work and her raising us up did not go in vain, and essentially never set time for myself, self-loving and self-healing and self-caring. It almost was like there was no time for that because others around me and the world were constantly suffering or facing some challenges. So during that ceremony, I was sitting, and this visualization came up where my 28-year-old self time traveled back to my 6-7-year-old self and offered my hand to pick up and out the 6-7-year-old self from under the bed. And I decided to speak with him, and that I let him know that it's absolutely okay to take care of myself. In fact, if I ever were going to continually serve my best, how can I serve my best if I don't feel or be my best? So I've told my young self and sort of made this new contract to reverse everything and say that it's absolutely okay to balance out this opportunity of servicing others and supporting others, but at the same time really taking care of myself. Because if I am and being and feeling my best, I can serve my best. And with this medicine, I felt connected with the masculine energy of almost being the brother and father figure to my young self and mentoring him. As I completed that journey, I opened my eyes and connected with the nature all around me in its pure, beautiful form. I also sat in front of a mirror that was there and just observed myself, complimenting each and every part of myself as an act of self-love and starting to integrate that opportunity that I took away and that message I took away into practice. Beyond that, I started to also ask myself, what's one act of self-love I can continually show myself? And that has manifested into treating myself to sometimes a nicer hotel just to rest and recharge, purchasing a necklace that has incense in it that I can always just stay calm and really enjoy that scent, and just purchasing things that allow me to feel like a kid or just with joy. Because when I can start to feel my best and be my best, then I can absolutely serve my best to everyone around me. I had a question for you for this week's video, in that, how do you self-care and self-love yourself? What are some practices that you've adopted and cultivated for yourself that emits that kind of self-love and self-care for you? Feel free to leave in the comments below, because I want to learn. So that was my story, and I hope you enjoyed that. It was just such a profound experience to sit with San Pedro in such a safe environment, and shout out to my friend who was able to hold that space and create that space. Afterwards, I told the father and him that I appreciated everything that they've done to build that space, because their work, all the sweat and tears, all matter in the end when you're able to hold that kind of container in that space for others to go through that healing and that transformation. So let's go into Envision. What is Envision, and what were the highlights of Envision? So Envision is a celebration dedicated to awakening our human potential. Envision Festival provides a platform for different cultures to collide harmoniously in a regenerative culture. Their aim is to inspire one another through the collective participation in art, spirituality, yoga, music, dance, performance, education, regenerative and sustainability practices and strategies, and our fundamental connection with nature. So as they stand for all those, they offer a lot of great programming that creates this amazing schedule that you can choose from. And when you see all that, you get maybe a little bit overwhelmed. And so how I picked out my schedule, very similar to the practices I picked out when I was in San Marcos in Guatemala, was that I would just look over and listen to my heart wherever it jumps with joy when I read a certain type of workshop, class, or program. And almost gave myself that permission to never be afraid of leaving my friends if it meant that I would separate from them to go do something that my heart felt called to explore. So some of the classes and workshops I chose that made my heart jump with joy, and I'm so glad I did, included contact improv class, a holding space class, breathwork class, tons of ecstatic dances, shamanic dream journeying, and a sound healing session. Outside of those classes, there were amazing musical performances and acts that I'll share the raw footage with you after. So as they offer tons of holistic body healing workshops, music performances, sustainability speaking panels, and so much more, I really enjoyed the contact improv class. It was my first time really trying to understand the fundamentals of what contact improv included. So a couple things I learned was that there are 3 ways to really share a dance with someone in contact improvisation. The first one is pushing, the second one is pulling, and this third one is presence. For pushing, you push your hand onto any part of their body with consent, and you have the person react in a way that they feel excited and called to. For pulling, you simply put your hand without any pressure, and that person feels pulled into your presence so that they move your certain body parts that you placed your hand on towards that area. And the last one is presence, where you don't touch anything at all and you just kind of stare and be absolutely present with one another. The holding space class was also very awesome in that I've learned this, but really was able to solidify this more, in that holding space is really around being present with someone else and asking a question and fully being present with them without any sort of reaction or words that come spitting out for a certain time frame. So all you're doing is just holding space for someone to let out whatever they need to or want to share. Breathwork has been something very interesting where I started to explore more of this past year, in that you can alter your state of consciousness just with your breath. And it's called breathwork. You breathe fully with a certain tempo consistently for some time, and you'll start to feel an altered state of consciousness where you can dive into whatever intention that you set in the beginning of that breathwork session. There were some beautiful sound healing sessions as well, where you just lay down on the floor and the performers bathe you with gongs, with a didgeridoo, with a handpan, and just all types of instruments that are so fascinating to partake in. But my favorite was this sunrise set from one of my favorite artists named Random Rab. Random Rab decided to play around 4 to 6 a.m. where the sunrise was happening, and I've come to know Random Rab's music is the epitome of self-healing music. His music really almost makes you feel like you're being held and cradled. And as that performance was happening, I was just looking all around, and it was just so beautiful to see everyone swaying, smiling, and hugging one another to show that sort of self-healing and self-love, but also emitting that to others as well, even strangers. There were some amazing ecstatic dances that occurred as well. I went to about 4 of them, and I really started to step into them after I learned what contact improv fundamentals were, but also felt even more excited and connected with the ecstatic DJ training that I'm going to be heading out to in Portugal at the end of April. So just combining all of that felt very aligned and felt very excited for me as I move forward. Here's some raw footage of photos and videos of what Envision felt like.
Cherish this moment, cherish this breath.
I ask you, what means are justified in achieving this end? Why frame reality through a 4th dimensional lens? This is a drag force coefficient slowing down our ascent. And so from this, I repent, back to earth time instead. Not just walk into wherever we're led. Erase these lies from my head. We're still embodying the origins of creation, expanding and contracting universes.
Tomorrow's a new day for everyone.
So that was it. That was a week filled with amazing friends and loved ones, but also meeting new strangers and learning new modalities. I was so happy and grateful to have experienced Envision, and I fully recommend you check it out if you ever have a chance to. I'm really excited to share with you next week's video as I head down to where I'm at now, Peru, especially with Cusco and Sacred Valley. And I have some big news and exciting commitments I've made that I would love to share for you next week. So stay tuned and subscribe if you haven't. And as always, thank you again so much. So appreciative, so grateful for your sharing time and presence as you travel and follow me as I backpack around this world and continually just absorb and download these learnings and share them right with you. See you next week.
One night to be confused, one night to speed up truth. We had a promise made for accidental way, both under influence. We had divine sin to know what to say. Mind is a race away. One night of magic rush, the start a simple touch.